Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Monday, Makeover Monday. Did a reset ourselves, reset our week, whatever we've been doing last week. Maybe it wasn't perfect. Hey, it's a new day. It's a new week. We're going to raise the bar. That's what we do in this community, this Wisdom of the Sages community. We work on bringing people into our life that assist us to raise the bar. Did you like my interview yesterday, Kaustubha?
I thought it was really nice.
Thank you. I was on. If you missed it, I was on interview day yesterday. But it wasn't just like tell me stories about the band. It was prophet style. Kaustubha would ask a real significant question. Tell me about friendship. Tell me about love. Tell me about beauty. It was good. I'd have to think real quick. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good day?
Yeah.
Any announcements?
You're moving. I think you wore yourself off when you're like welcoming everybody. It's like you just used up all your energy.
If you're new to the show, we do this live on Zoom. So we get 85 people. Yesterday we had 109 people on Zoom. If you want to join us on Zoom, what I do, and if you don't know this, it's a special treat. I say good morning to everybody on Zoom. Whenever we have a special guest, we're always like, okay, before we start, Raghunath says hello to everybody. And they're always like, everybody? Yeah, everybody. We say hello to everybody. It seems like a long, drawn-out ritual, but it's quite satisfying for me personally.
We can pick up on that.
It's satisfying, but I think but not just me personally. I think it's satisfying to people to get welcome.
They need you, Raghunath.
Not that they need me. It's just it's nice to look someone in the eye and say, "Good morning to you, sir. Good morning."
Yeah.
I think it's just
okay. So, are there announcements, Mara?
Yes. Bhakti Recovery Group meetings today at 1 and 9:30 Eastern Time. And Zeb from the Pittsburgh Yoga Factory is offering an asana class for Patreon members every Monday at 4 p.m.
Yogi Raj, we call him. Yogi Raj Zeb from Pittsburgh Yoga Factory. Great. That's great that he's doing that. He's a very empowered yoga teacher. It's exciting. Who's got the dates for Italy? I got to I'm supposed to mention Italy. Italy is happening. Baby, are you here? Put it on the board. Italy's happy. I think they don't have many spaces left, but we have some spaces left. It's the Wisdom of the Sages Italian Tuscany retreat happening in July. And last year it was great. Mara made up some excuse and didn't go, and she sadly regretted it. And now she wants in. Mara's coming. Me, Kaustubha, Mara, we all get together, and we have kirtan. We visit beautiful places in Tuscany. We eat wonderful food, and it's actually in a giant, gorgeous villa, like a Tuscan villa, but it's sort of like, don't expect you're going to get some massive room with a sunken tub. It's like the villa's become like an ashram. So it's ashram living, but because it's ashram living, we keep the prices reasonable. But there's a temple there, and it's beautiful grounds. An occasional meandering peacock will come by. Beautiful temple room. It's wonderful.
It's full on Tuscany villa culture atmosphere, right?
Yeah. If you've ever wanted to live in an ashram, but also we're thinking, well, I would also like to live in Tuscany. We've got balance for both.
You can do both.
Raghu, I've got the dates for you if you want. It's July 18th to 25th.
Okay. And how do they contact whoever's putting
If you go to wisdomofthesages.com and then click on the events tab, it'll link you to the registration.
Yeah, I was listening to Jim Gaffigan, and he was saying, like, all this talk about these billionaires going to space. You want to go to space? I'm going to space now, so you can go in the future. And Jim Gaffigan goes, I don't want to go to space. I want to go to Italy. Can you work on that? Who wants to go to space? Let's face it, we all just want to go to Italy. And if you can go to Italy and be around nice devotees who try to cultivate bhakti, it's like the best of both worlds.
It is.
I felt like that's what we did on our Wisdom of the Sages retreat in Colombia. It was like, you get bhakti, we're hearing and chanting, and then we started tubing down rivers, in the jungle. It's sort of like bhakti adventure travel. That's maybe our new brand, bhakti adventure travel.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Well, we start off the show. If you're new to the show, we start off with a little nugget, a nugget of wisdom. And this is from, where is it? Here it is. Kaustubha, you are a nugget master. He's always got something wise to say.
Got a nugget for you.
Okay. This is from Crystal Quintasket. What can you tell me about her, Kaustubha?
Well, she was also known as Morning Dove. And she was a Native American. She was an author of a book called, what was it called? A Depiction of the Great Montana Cattle Range.
You know what I'm fascinated with, Prabhu?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by these children that got raised by Native Americans. Mm-hmm. Either like in some like raid they had or something, and they kidnapped the child, but they raised them and like love the child and and then they find the child years later. And the child's not interested in going back whatsoever. Yeah. Like, I found a better way of life. I'm sorry. Okay. You ever read
like
that?
These kids maybe got lost out there on the prairie or something.
Or they got lost. And then raised by Native Americans.
What about getting raised by wolves?
That's a whole interesting thing.
I know. I should have said
real thing, man.
Kaustubha.
You know what I've heard? There was this one from this girl, and it happened in Calcutta. The girl was raised by wolves.
Yeah, it happens in India more than any other place in the world, actually. And I know why.
How did you know that? That's true. Why is that?
It's because a common practice in India is that that the babies, they rub oil on them. They give them that Ayurvedic little oil massage.
And the monkeys steal them?
No, not the monkeys, but the wolves. You see, what happens is the mother wolf will go out to collect food for the pups. And they'll pick up a baby.
He's squirreling my squirrel.
Oh, you know this then? I think I told you. I
think
just
keep going with it. You're squirreling my squirrel, but keep going.
Yeah, so then the mother brings home the baby, and then if there was enough food around that the babies weren't going to eat, it's horrific, but eat that infant, then what happens is that infant stays for like the night. In other words, they weren't able to eat it today. Sure. So it kind of spends the night, and because it has all that oil on it, the mother starts to lick it for the taste of the oil. Mm-hmm. But because the mother's accustomed to licking her own pups, she begins to identify the baby as her own pup by.
You're saying this happens more because Indians rub oil on their children and other cultures don't?
Yes.
Did you get oil rubbed on you? Baby oil?
No, I didn't. No, we got to get to this.
We don't have any wolves, so that's another problem. We don't have any wolves around here. Got raised by a pack of feral dogs.
No, but let's
anyway.
Do this nugget,
but when they take those kids back and they try to feed them,
they won't.
They'll only
they die.
Well, they'll only eat raw foods. I read this when I was a raw foodist. They would not eat cooked foods. Okay, here's the nugget though.
Yeah.
But I wonder, because sometimes Native Americans have like this Christian name, like Crystal Quintasket, and then they have a name like,
Well,
what was her name? Morning Dove?
you know, Morning Dove. She goes by Morning Dove, but I also noticed that actually she's best known for her novel Kaguya, The Half-Blood, a depiction of the Great Montana Cattle Range. So maybe she was half Native American herself. I'm not sure.
Half Native Americans. There was a song about that, right?
Read the nugget. Okay.
It was a Cher song, I think. Okay. Everything on the earth has a purpose, every disease, an herb to cure it, and every person a mission. This is the Indian theory of existence.
I like that.
She accepted herself as an Indian.
Read that again.
Why didn't she mention her nation and not just the general white man's statement of Indian?
Well, she's not mentioning it. Someone else is quoting her.
Oh, someone's quoting her. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I got you. Everything on the earth has a purpose. Every disease, an herb to cure it, and every person a mission. Like I get it. Like every plant has a mission.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of a holistic way of seeing, you know, the world. And you know what this reminds me of? And you know, again, we've been bringing a lot of Native American wisdom onto this show, but I think, you know, part of it, so much of it had to do, you know, they had this lifestyle, and that lifestyle was very in tune with nature. And when you're in tune with nature, you begin to see patterns, and you know, you can begin to understand truths about life through nature. And when you get disconnected from nature, you get disconnected from like these fundamental truths about life. But I see this as a fundamental truth, that everything on the earth has a purpose, and therefore I must have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
But what it reminds me of is this, you know, is the appendix, right? It's like we live in a world that's disconnected from nature, right? And you know, there's all kind of industry and all, you know, and this kind of idea was kind of handed down that the appendix has no purpose, right?
Right.
Now, when I hear that, I immediately think, come on, you know, it's like there's this part of our body
that's just extra.
That just has no meaning, no purpose. It just popped up there, you know.
You know, this thing's nothing. We could just take this out. Really?
Yeah, you got to be disconnected to buy into that, I think, you know. And I heard that recently, somewhat recently, like within the past decade or so, you know, Western medical experts have begun to speculate that actually does have a purpose. Do you know what the purpose of it is?
No. Do you?
Yes, I do. They said that the purpose of the appendix, which is just like this kind of little sac, you know, that hangs off of the intestines, is that there's certain times in life where the bacteria within the intestines may all get killed, right? Like maybe you have like dysentery or something like that, and all of that. Now we do it through antibiotics. You know, we just kill like all the which is a whole nother subject, right? But we just kill all of like the healthy bacteria. And so that the appendix is meant to kind of like, just like you have like a yogurt culture separately, and then you can use it in the future to spread, you know, throughout an entire pot of milk.
Are you saying we can make yogurt with our appendix?
No, just listen. So just like yogurt, you know, you have a small amount of yogurt that's got this bacteria in it, and then you put it in milk and it spreads throughout the entire pot of milk.
Right.
So similarly, you preserve the bacteria, the healthy bacteria in the appendix, right? The healthy bacteria that's meant to spread throughout the entire intestines and help with digestion is preserved in the appendix. And if for any reason the appendix loses all of that healthy bacteria, you've got another starter right there, you know, held in the appendix. So they say that's what the appendix is for. So everything has a purpose, right?
Everything.
And in Sanskrit we call that Dharma, right? That there's a, you know, that we have a particular, everything has its particular purpose, its particular reason. Everything is designed for something. And, you know, there's that fascinating book by Bhakti-yogi Thakur, Jaiva Dharma, which means the Dharma of the self, right? What is the Dharma of the soul?
We brought that to Columbia to read, Mara.
Yeah.
Jaiva Dharma. We read
Did
one
you read?
page. We read one page. I've been trying to read that book for years.
but it's it's such an interesting idea that what that book says. There's two kind of dharmas, right? There's temporary dharmas and eternal dharmas, or the eternal dharma. There's relative dharma, which is relative to the time and the circumstances that we're in. Like someone may have the dharma of being a mother. Like right now, little Karuna, she's not a mother, right? But in the future, she may likely be a mother. And then, so right now, she doesn't have the responsibility or the purpose of motherhood. But in the future, she may have that. And you live that dharma, you accept those duties. And what that discipline does is it helps you develop towards the eternal dharma, the dharma which is not dependent on any circumstance or any age or time or anything like that. But and that's a dharma that we all share. Like I may have one external dharma, one temporary dharma, and you may have another one. Like they may be different. Like you're a father and I'm not, right? So you have that dharma, I don't.
Then there's the dharma of someone's a leader. Someone is born to do art. Someone is born to be an athlete or born to be a musician. They're temporary dharmas that they work with your body and with how your mind is carved karmically and your desires,
your situation.
Yeah, it's a great concept, and our job is to sort of figure out, because we have like this free country, so to speak. You can be whoever you want to be, but then you got to figure out like, well, what is my offering in this world while I'm here at this point in my life, like you were saying about Karuna, which is sometimes tricky. What am I meant to? And it should be contributing to the greater good of society. Or else you can become really successful at something you hate, or successmo at something that makes other people miserable.
Harmful. Yeah.
At something that's horrible. I'm really great at building, bombs. No, that's,
And but not only is it contributing to society, but the idea is that also that this temporary dharma, this relative dharma, is contributing towards our uncovering the eternal dharma, which we all share, right? In other words, you may be a father and I may not be a father, so you've got a dharma that I don't have, but there's the eternal dharma every living being shares. And that eternal dharma is our connection to God, is our devotional service, our love to God. That's something that every living being has. That's the purpose of every living being. And the temporary dharmas that we practice are meant to help that arise, or help us discover that, or rediscover that.
That's Nitya Dharma. Nitya Dharma, the eternal Dharma. And that's what we really have in common. We all have a desire to give love, right? And it's perfected when we direct that towards sweet baby Krishna or God or higher power. And in that process, we end up giving to other people in the highest way. It's a great concept.
Great concept.
And it's a great nugget, Kaustubha. That was a Kaustubha nugget.
It wasn't my nugget. It belonged to Morning Dove. It's Morning Dove.
Morning Dove. Morning Dove's sort of a hippie name too, isn't it? Hey, Morning Dove. What was Mara's hippie name? Remember
Sweetwater.
Sweetwater. Sweetwater and Morning Dove.
Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed. Oh man. All right.
Ready to start?
Yes. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam dirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh vabhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnanatimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Hit it, Mara.
Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 7, Text 54.
54.
I think this is the last statement by Lord Vishnu. We're just wrapping everything up here.
54 or 45?
Yes. 54.
The Lord continued, one who does not consider Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or the living entities in general to be separate from the Supreme, and who knows Brahman, knows everything, knows the absolute truth, actually realizes peace. Others do not. Let's read that again. Ready?
Let's read that again.
One who does not consider Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or the living entities in general to be separate from the Supreme, and who knows Brahman actually realizes peace. Others do not. There you have it, the peace formula.
Hold on, let me read that one more time. I just want one who does
read that
not.
Again.
Yeah, one more. One who does not consider Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or the other living entities in general to be separate from the Supreme, who knows Brahman actually realizes peace. Others don't. Okay. I mean, it's a negative way of stating it, right? One who does not consider.
Right.
Yeah. But so it's talking about, it's not so different than what Morning Dove was saying. There's a unity, right? There's everything is tied together in some way, right?
Right.
So commonly people, followers of Vedic tradition, they may see Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva as being independent of one another. Right? Let's read the commentary.
Prabhu, please read the commentary. My dog is freaking out right now and trying to get back in the house. So you do that. I'll be right
Gus.
back after I get the Gus. He's old.
Okay.
He's old and has needs. I'll be right back.
All right. So here's the commentary, purport by Srila Prabhupada. He says, two words are very significant in this verse. Trayanam indicates three, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu. And then Bidham means different. They are three, and therefore they are separate, but at the same time they are one. This is the philosophy of simultaneous oneness and difference, which is called, Mara?
Achinta Beta Beta Tattva.
Yes. The example given in the Brahma Samhita, and this is a very important book of prayers by Lord Brahma, is that milk and yogurt are simultaneously one and different. Both are milk, but the yogurt has become changed. We were just talking about this. In order to achieve real peace, one should see everything and every living entity, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, as non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is independent. Every one of us is an expansion. This is interesting. Every one of us is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Raghunath, you are an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
I always thought I was God. Now you're telling me it's true?
But you're one with, but also different. Okay, so this accounts for the unity in diversity, right? We're all of the same origin. We're all of the same energy. There are diverse manifestations, but at the same time, they are one in Vishnu. Everything is an expansion of Vishnu's energy. So can you explain this Achincha Beta Beta Tattva? Tattva means what?
Type of truth. I'll explain it in shelter lyrics.
Oh.
Like a drop from the sea.
Drop from
We're
the
one
sea.
with each other. Talking to God. We're one with each other, but you're different from me. Like a drop from the sea.
When you say you're talking about God.
I'm talking
right?
to God. I'm talking to
Okay.
God.
You're talking to God here.
We're
Say it
one
again.
with each other, but you're different from me. Like a drop from the sea. If you want to be free, Sharanagati.
Surrender.
Like that little rhyme?
Sharanagati. Very nice.
Sharanagati. Look at Henry. He's like heavy metaling out over there.
I remember that
He's
one.
like, I remember that song. So we are like the ocean, but we're not the. It was like a thing in the 60s, which
that?
and Prabhupada even warned. He said, "Look, be careful in yoga communities because they're getting this backwards. They're walking around saying we are one. I am God. It's like impersonalist philosophy, which is a partial truth. The partial truth is simple. We are God, but that is a partial truth. We are God, but if you were shine light on the whole thing, you are God in the sense like you're a drop. A drop is the sea, but it's not the sea, right? A spark is the fire, but it's not the fire. That's why the teachings of Chaitanya, right?
Different quantity. Yeah.
It's such a more complete conception of truth. We are God, but how can God fall into illusion if we actually are God? But a spark can be extinguished. We see sparks flying out of the fire. If that spark lands on wet grass, what happens to the spark? It becomes extinguished. If I, though I'm spiritual being by nature, my actual default is spiritual. But if I hang out with a lot of materialists, I start taking up material qualities. I get affected. And then you don't see the material, you see more of the ego-driven version of Raghunath than the spiritual version of Raghunath. That's why I hang out with you. That's why I hang out with Mara. That's why I hang out with the Wisdom of the Sages people. You lift me up. Okay. Must be a song there.
There is. I'm not even going to go into it though. But yeah. So okay. I like what you're saying. In other words, it's another example of that kind of thinking that's so common, where you have a thesis, and then there's a problem with the thesis, and then thesis, and then everyone thesis, and then everyone swings from the thesis over to this antithesis, which also has problem. You got to find the synthesis, right?
Oh, Kaustubha, you word juggler!
It's not word jugglery, but
no, that was wordsmithing.
Okay, well, it's not my wordsmithing though. What do they call that? The dialectic theory, I believe. So first of all, like let's say we have like the common Judeo-Christian presentation of reality, right?
Yeah, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Well, but generally that presentation, I won't say in every instance, right? But generally you receive it where it's emphasizing the difference between the self and God. You know, God is great and we are not, you know, like that's the emphasis, right? And then, but one may live that out and be fed that information and begin to see problems with it and begin to see hypocrisy and see it kind of used as like an instrument of guilt and you know, anxiety and suffering and so on. And one may say, I don't like this. This must not be true, right? And then you swing to the antithesis of this, which is I am God. We are all God. Everyone is God. There is no God above us. There's no hierarchy. There's no one up higher that's judging me. Yeah. You know, so you swing over to that, and that's what you find presented in like Advaita Vedanta, you know, or in some other Eastern forms of thought. It's swinging the entire other way. A lot of people from the West, you know, like in the 60s, like you're saying, swung from their Judeo-Christian background way over to the Eastern philosophies that removed the hierarchy and said we were all of that divine one. Like that.
And I get it. And it sort of like needed that to sort of like open the gate wider.
Sure.
But this, I mean, it doesn't get more perfect philosophy. We're perfect. We're pure. We're just covered.
That's the synthesis.
And now with community, we start to uncover ourselves.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, and so what it's saying is that
I like
in
that.
one sense, so achintya, beta, abeta, beta, and abeta, right? Beta means different, and abeta means non-different. And achintya means inconceivable, meaning that to fully understand this, it's not that you climb to it by your own speculation, but it's handed down step by step. You understand this nature.
You know, it's called inconceivable, but I think the analogy is very conceivable, like a drop from the sea. That's not inconceivable. That's very conceivable.
So what I'm saying is you could understand inconceivable meaning it's not that you come to this conviction through your speculation. You don't come to this through your own mental effort, but it's something that's delivered to you. You because it's beyond us. We have to receive it from a source that's beyond us.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And so again, it's saying that in one sense we are God, like we are all an expansion of God. We're an expansion of the energy of God, but in another sense we're very different. Right, because we do have the tendency to become covered by the material energy. So where God is beyond the material energy is also the energy of God. He's beyond it. He's in control of it. He's never covered by it, whereas we tend to be covered. You tend to use our independence. We tend to use our free will in ways where we become affected by that external energy, and therefore we suffer, and therefore we lose touch with peace. Now, so this verse is saying, one who sees the oneness, and the oneness here meaning that like even the great devas like Brahma and Shiva are manifestations of the energy of Vishnu. When you see that, right? and then all the energy that they control, like they're responsible for the different aspects of the gunas, right? The modes of passion, the modes of ignorance. So one who can see that even these great beings are manifestations of the energy of Lord Vishnu, and in one sense sees everything in connection to Lord Vishnu, they actually realize peace, and others do not. So that's an interesting idea. And how do you see the connection there? Like, how does that knowledge grant one peace, Raghu?
Good question. Hot seat for Raghunath. I'm going to use my brain here. Well, how does that give you peace?
How does
Well,
it
I get
grant one peace?
Mary, you got any ideas for this? Oh, I can't. Let's ask our producer. How are you feeling about that, Mary? You feel peaceful when you understand that Lord Vishnu is everything?
How about we give a hint? I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a
Give me
place
a
to
hint what
search.
you're thinking. I'm trying to. I feel like you're pushing me towards like an answer that I'm not even sure.
Well, where do we also find a formula for peace?
Oh, when in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna is the yagya, he's the source, he's the object of sacrifice.
He's the Bhakti-ram.
Bhakti-ram. He's the supreme friend, and he is the Jagatpate, the Lord of the universe. When we get Krishna's position, oh, I get it. Here we go. Then, first of all, the living entity in illusion, we start to try to compete with God for God's position. We want to be the center. We want to be led by our ego. I am the center. People who worship me are my friends. People who understand my greatness. We try to put forth our greatness at every possible instance. And sometimes our greatness or our ego manifests in our own self-deprecation and self-loathing, which is also part of the ego. But when we're actually in truth, we see ourselves as, we can't hate ourselves because we're part of God. And we can't think we are the center of the universe because we understand we're part of God. So what it does is it gives you a type of, it's just like, how much anxiety is it to know you're going to enter this triathlon, but there's no way you could possibly win, but you better damn win. That's what the material world is like. We're trying to compete with everyone and everything for success, for wealth, for beauty, for strength. And you just can't win that race. As soon as you feel like, well, I'm pretty beautiful compared to these people, there's always someone more beautiful coming along, right? They're just coming out of nowhere. Dark horse, that 16-year-old or that kid has got no body fat, has a 8-pack of abs, and he's not even trying. You can't win. You can't compete. If that's where you are playing competition in this material world, good luck with that. It's gonna end soon. If you're going for control or power, guess what? Your civilizations crumble, your business fails, or at the very least, we give up our business in the hand. Even a successful business, we have to hand it on to somebody, our partner or our children, when we get old and die, and we can't run it any longer. So when we don't understand ourselves in terms of reality, then there's this massive fight to be the center, the controller, the owner, and it's not based in reality. Therefore, there can't be peace. It's an uphill battle that we can't win. When we understand we're part of something bigger, we can find our position in this world, our dharma in this world, our contribution to something greater than us in this world.
I love it. Nice, Raghu.
Were you looking for that?
You dug deep.
Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah. No, now the text that we're speaking about, Srila Prabhupada, his own moniker for this verse was, he called it the peace formula, right? This is Bhagavad Gita 5:29. I don't know if Karuna knows that one. You know 5:29, Karuna? She does.
She's got it. Unmute that. Right. Unmute that 8-year-old.
This is one of the arrows in her quiver. Let's hear it, Karuna.
Okay. Unmute yourself. Is she looking? Is she looking?
What?
No, she's memorized it.
I'm just joking. All right, go on.
Nothing.
Okay, very good, Karuna.
That was
impressive.
That was
so if
good.
you're not on Zoom, which is most people, except for the 91 that are on Zoom, that we have an 8-year-old from Lebanon we go to when we want a Sanskrit quote. She's not even Sanskrit she didn't grow up in India in a gurukul, a school of the guru. She just studies shlokas with her parents.
Yeah.
And she whipped off that one like it was nothing.
Bhagavad Gita 5:29. So here's the translation. And again, this is what is known as the peace formula. A person, Krishna speaking, in full consciousness of me, knowing me as the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. What does that mean? In other words, whatever we do is meant to be made an offering to him. Okay, that sounds a little scary, actually, right?
Well, it sounds sacrifice, that scary word, but any type of thing we do for our self-betterment. I like to really, I've really thought about this verse because that word sacrifice is very confusing. And
I wasn't even talking about that, though. I mean, I was talking about the idea that it's all meant for his benefit. Like it's all meant for, in other words, Krishna's saying, everything that you do, you should be doing for me.
Well, I look at it as a sacrifice for the self, like for my body, for my health, opposite. For my diet, for anything that I do, any austerity I take on is actually meant. It should be meant directed towards pleasing God. If I'm taking care of my health, that should be how can I use my body for God's service.
Okay, great. Yeah. But it does sound the way it's worded. It sounds like, hold it. Why does everyone have to do everything for you? Right?
Yeah.
Why do you have to be the ultimate beneficiary of not only some sacrifices and austerities, but all sacrifices and austerities?
God wants all the
Can
sacrifices.
we get a little over here? Yeah.
I think God's in his ego.
Well, that's what it sounds
God's
like.
allowed to be in his ego.
Okay.
He is the center.
He is the center. That's right. That's the point.
I'm not allowed to be in my ego.
So he says, one who understands me, knows me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods.
That means everybody's ultimately coming from him. He's the supreme of everything.
So that's like both of those aspects of this formula. They can be scary, right? They can be like, what? Why do I have to bow down to this person? Why does
we hate authority
have to be for them? We hate
Americans,
authority. We hate
especially.
hierarchies. Yeah. But then comes the third line. Now, this line is so important.
It's
right?
the sweet one. It's the sweet one. Mara, you know what it is, right? Mara?
No.
Suridam. Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. Do you know what Sarva means, Mara?
All?
Yes, very good. Bhutanam, Sarva Bhutanam. Oh, look, she could see her reading.
She's gonna
ghosts. I don't know yet.
All living beings, right? And Suridam? What is a Surit? Do you know?
No.
Look at Karuna's ready to jump out.
Karuna knows. She's like, unmute me.
No, she doesn't know.
He's the friend. He's the friend of all living entities. Isn't that a great way to appreciate God? God is your dearest friend. No matter how many dear friends you've got, God is your he's more dear friend.
That's right.
And so all that official stuff, he's that too. He's actually your dearest friend. He actually has your best interest in mind. That the universe is benevolent and loving, and whatever happens to us is because there's a supreme benevolent person. Even when things seem to go awry, there's a greater plan, a bigger picture that we just can't perceive right now. Our job is to clear the fog, have full trust that Krishna is Surita Sarvabhutanam.
Right.
What a great feeling. Not like he's a punisher, not like he's Judge Judy, judging us, condemning us, shaming us. No.
So this, this
love making Kaustubha laugh.
Bhaktaram Yagna Tapasam, when he says, I'm the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. In your mind, don't picture like this tyrant that's saying everything's for me. Picture the root, right? The root of the tree, right? That you feed the root and the entire tree benefits. It's more like that, right? The root is the source of the rest of the plant. The root is what's nourishing the rest of the plant. So it's saying that not only but if we all understood this together, if we all understood that what we do is meant to satisfy the root, meant to, to as an offering to the root, and that we all benefit from it together, rather than the leaf saying, I want everything for me, and the entire, not only that leaf, but the entire tree suffers. You understand? Like, imagine if the leaf had the power to decide where the watering is going to go, right? It was all left to one leaf, and that leaf said, well, you know what? Enough of the root. The root's always saying everything should be offered to me.
The root thinks he's the center.
The root thinks it's I want to be the center. Pour all the water on me. Well, what'll happen is not only will the rest of the leaves suffer, but even that leaf will not get the nourishment in the right way, and it will suffer as well, right?
Yeah.
So, but if all the leaves, and what our civilization is all different leaves trying to get all the water, when we should be, but when we all should realize together, let all the water go to the root, right? Let it all go to the root, and we all benefit from that. So when Krishna says, I'm the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, he's saying that whatever we do in life, we're all sacrificing. We're sacrificing time. We go to work. We sacrifice our time and energy, you know. We do, we have our religious practices, our spiritual practices, you know. We focus them on different focal points. You know, we do difficult things in life for so many different purposes. He's saying, make me and my satisfaction the focal point, and then everyone's nourished. You'll be nourished, and everyone will be nourished. And so, you know, he's saying, he's identifying himself as that source of everything. He's identifying himself as the Lord of all planets and demigods. In other words, there's nothing beyond him. It's not like there's a smorgasbord to choose from. We can understand the other devas as in line with him, lined up with him, connected to him, but no one is separate from him. That the entire universe and universes, everything is an expansion of Krishna's energy. And then the whole thing is designed, and he's benevolent, right? He's the friend of every living entity. He wants us to reconnect and benefit from the reconnection. And then what this is saying is that the world is designed in such a way that when we act in ignorance of that, which is healthy, which is what we need, you know, just like, you know, we can understand we feel pain. You know, it's beneficial to feel pain when something detrimental is happening to the body, right? If we touch fire, we feel pain. That's a good thing. Otherwise, we'd burn our whole hand off, right?
Yep.
So similarly, the universe is designed in such a way that when we act in ignorance of this principle, you know, of the oneness of everything being Krishna's energy, but also him being different, him being the source and the root. When we act in ignorance of that, we feel a sense of conflict, right? External conflict or internal conflict when we turn away from that truth. And that conflict, that tension, that pain even, is meant to turn us back to that truth. You know, we're almost like the experimental lab animal, right? Which is, you know, it doesn't even know it's being observed. It doesn't even know, you know, what it's supposed to understand.
I don't know if I like that analogy because the lab animal eventually gets killed and discarded.
Well, I'm just
here's one I like. Listen, the kid, the toddler. What's that?
You just rejected it, but you didn't let me explain it. But go ahead.
I don't even want an explanation. Listen to mine.
All right.
The toddler has no clue. When the parent wants to take the toddler to the beach, the parent's like, get in the car. I got a good plan for you. And the toddler's crying. The car is hot. You know, and then the parents got to stop at the bank. The kids, if you're a little kid, you hate going to the bank. It's like, and then you're like, we got to get gas. The toddler hates going to get gas, you know, and then you got to go to the food store. But the parents like, just get in the car, stop. Don't worry. It's going to work out good. And then eventually you get to that beach. There is a benevolent hand at force, no matter what we're going through. No matter what we're going through, all the poking that the material energy gives us, the loss, the heartbreak, sometimes the joy, the bucket of cash that falls on our lap unexpectedly sometime. Marilyn's like, what? Bucket of cash? And then you lose your
treasure
cash.
chest.
And then you something happens, you're looking good, you're looking fit, you're looking beautiful. And then all of a sudden you fall and you slice your nose open, you look a little crazy. That happened to me. But the idea is that there is a benevolent hand behind everything. And we have firm faith in that. And it comes from just seeing, and it's a different way to see the world, especially when we can't really see it right in front of our face. But I think it's safe to say, Kaustubha, in our lives, we can look back at tough times and say, you know what? Thank God for that. I got fired, or thank God for that heartbreak, or thank God that relationship ended, or thank God that seemingly was a disaster because it brought me to a new place in life. And at the very least, it brought me here to a spiritual pursuit.
Sure.
Maybe if it wasn't for that tragedy, I wouldn't be on a spiritual pursuit. I'd be immersed in mediocrity.
It could have even worse than mediocrity. It could go lower than that.
I can go lower than mediocrity, my
We all
friends.
can. So, now Prabhupada, in the commentary to this verse 529, he just kind of sums up our existence and the role that yoga plays in it in a really beautiful, concise way. Okay, I'll read it to you. He writes, "A pure soul is the eternal servant of God, as is fragmental part and parcel." Right, just like a leaf, is an eternal servant of the root, and is a part and parcel of the tree. Right. He says, they come into contact with Maya or illusion due to the desire to lord it over Maya, and that is the cause of their many sufferings. Okay. As long as they are in contact with matter, they have to execute work in terms of material necessities, right? As long as I've decided to enter into the illusory world, I get a body that's got needs, right?
Yeah.
He says, Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life, even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter. Like, even though I'm in this body and in this world, I can begin to see it through the eyes of truth, through Krishna consciousness. The more one is advanced, the more they are freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial to anyone. Everything depends on one's particular performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which helps one to control the senses in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. We're talking about duties or dharma or purpose, right? When we discover our purpose, what I'm meant for, what I'm meant to do in this world, and we begin to operate on that, we begin to move from illusion to reality. He continues. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, one who's standing fast in reality. Krishna consciousness, again, it means realizing everything is Krishna's energy. So one who's standing in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above-mentioned passions, remains factually in the transcendental stage of Brahma Nirvana. That's the goal of yoga, right? To achieve a state beyond the influence of the material energy, beyond the ego, beyond the influence of the modes of nature. Now he says, so he ties this into this yogic idea. He says the eightfold yoga mysticism, right, the path of Ashtanga yoga, is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness, because the ultimate purpose is served. Right? That's a big statement, right? Like, in other words, when you realize I'm the energy of God, I benefit by reconnecting to God. I should design my life in such a way that it becomes an offering to God, and that my mind becomes absorbed in that level of thought. When you think that way, you've already accomplished the purpose of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, and then these very difficult stages of mental control meant to focus the mind. You're already there. So I'll read that again. He says the eightfold yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of elevation in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being. It is the highest perfection of life. What a commentary, right?
Powerful stuff.
Powerful stuff. All right. Well, maybe we have some takeaways.
Oh, it's 6:57. Man, time flies.
It does.
We do have some takeaways. Everything has a purpose and every person has their Dharma.
That's right.
Our unique temporary Dharma connects us to our eternal Dharma.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does.
We're perfect and pure. We are just covered.
Like that.
That's right.
Like
see everything in connection to Vishnu to see peace.
There you go.
Yes.
You can't win the competition in the material world.
You can't win it, Raghu.
Can't win it. Can't get the gold in the material world. Someone's going to get that gold.
We should talk about the Olympics and all that's happening there. My God,
I am completely clueless.
Oh boy, the whole ice skating thing. It's heartbreaking. We'll talk maybe tomorrow. Talk about that.
I know nothing.
God's allowed to be in his ego. He's the center.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is. For us, it's an illusion. For God, that's his position.
Krishna isn't Judge Judy shaming us. He's our supreme benevolent friend.
What
You know,
a
we've
relief
said that a
is.
lot. That's got to become a T-shirt. Krishna is not Judge Judy.
Okay.
Should be a t-shirt.
There are distinct differences between the two. Very distinct.
We all benefit if we offer to the root.
You know, the Europeans don't even know who Judge Judy is, I don't think, do you? The Europeans.
Poor Europe.
Even Aaron Erskine, he was laughing, but you don't know who Judge Judy is, Aaron, do you?
Oh, he says, of course we do.
Of course they
Of course
do.
we do. You guys, okay.
Big a Judge Judy there.
Okay. Forgive me.
Pain and conflict is meant to turn us towards truth.
That's right.
Pain and
There's a
conflict.
benevolent hand behind everything.
A benevolent hand.
And you can't make yogurt in the appendix.
No, you don't use the appendix for making yogurt.
No,
That was not the point.
that was not the point. Oh, appendix flavored yogurt, my favorite. I can't eat yogurt.
Really?
Affects my kapha stuff. What do you think
Well,
about that, Mara?
Then you need to take it with certain spices. That counteracts.
I just don't.
These are
I don't
all
like it.
Ayurvedic principles, really.
I don't like it. How about that?
Judge Judy
another
has a
thing.
house in Newport, Rhode Island, Lori Pag says.
Really?
Judge Judy.
Like, you go knock on her door, Lori Pag, and tell her she is not Lord Vishnu. It's like, what are you talking about? Aren't you the local yoga teacher? Yes, I am. And I'm here to tell you, you are not Lord Vishnu. Guards, arrest this woman.
See, but I never
thanks,
thought I
everybody.
was. Where is this coming from?
I don't even know who Lord Vishnu is. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. What a great way to start your Monday, guys. What a great way to start your Monday. Hearing and chanting sacred literature of the East, laughing a little bit. It's good. It's important
Gotta
to
laugh.
wake up and laugh a little bit, you know?
Yeah.